Hey everybody, and welcome to Side Quest, the shows that we do between the episodes of combat and adventure and exploration, where we, sit around and talk and actually do normal podcast format. I am Drew Hayes. Joining me today are Joseph Brassey, Rick Gualteri, and Robert Bevan.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
And today we have gathered to talk about sort of, I don't know how to describe it. Shared experience seems small. Harrowing mass adventure. Yeah, that's the right one. We've been talking about the world. Well, no, that's way too overgeneralizing. The United States has started to reopen because of the point we've reached with vaccination distribution and acceptance and taking it. And that's weird. Like, it's scary and strange, and it feels bizarre to go through a year of just being afraid of everything, and then suddenly it's like, all right, back on, let's do it, beers and water kegs. Oh god, water slides and kegs. You get the point. So it's a lot, and I can't think of a nice, cool way to transition in other than just ask, how has everybody's process, been going? I mean, I think we are all vaccinated at this point, correct?
Yep.
I am, yes.
Yep, same here. So, I guess maybe let's just start with vaccinations. That seems like a good point. What was everybody's experience like? Because I'm sure we went through at different times and in different state situations.
Just our vaccination experience?
Sure. I mean, if you guys have a better starting point, by all means. This is just a real weird one to kick off.
I mean, my side effects were minimal on the first one because I got Moderna. And then, the second one, it was wild. I had nothing for the first 4 hours after I got my second dose. And then all of a sudden, all at once, I had a fever. I had chills so bad I couldn't hold my phone. And I had, intense fatigue and muscle aches. And that night, I actually had, mild delirium. All I remember is lying awake in bed, convinced that if I got out of bed to pee, I was going to freeze to death.
You do live pretty far north, Joe. I'm not going to say that's impossible.
Yeah, but I live in a rain shadow that's it rarely, believe it or not, it rarely gets below, we actually rarely get below 30 in the winter.
Wow.
In western Washington.
Lovely.
Yeah, our range for temperatures in western Washington is 40s and upper 30s and sometimes low 50s for winter, depending on the part of the year. It's lovely. It's just you have to be also used to damp and rainy and everything.
Yeah, that part less intriguing.
But yeah, other than that, and then at all of a sudden, as suddenly as it started, it just stopped. I was just the symptoms stopped, but I was wiped for the better part of a day after it. I was really tired, and then the day after that, I was fine.
I got the Pfizer shots. My arm was mildly sore around the shot site for about a day, but I didn't notice it unless I pushed it to see if it was sore. So yeah, that's sore, but no, nothing other than that.
The first Pfizer shot fucked up my wife pretty bad, but the second one really didn't affect her. And then for me, I got it in the arm. I had a pinched nerve in at the time. And so honestly, if I did notice anything with either Pfizer shot, well, I didn't notice it.
I'm kind of curious. So y'all got your shots more recently, I think, correct?
I got mine in April, and in April and May.
April.
Yeah, mine was about maybe a month ago.
Yeah, my second dose was at the beginning of May.
So mine was, I want to say, I think February is when I started my first one. Due to some autoimmune stuff, I was in one of the early groups for Texas. And it was an interesting experience because it was driving out to a high school gym, standing in line, real spaced out, everybody kind of processes through. And it was efficient. And it really, they were trying to do a lot of people and it got the job done. But by the same token, it was really weird for me that recently, again, post-vaccinated, I went to an airport, and they had a thing that was like, hey, we are doing vaccinations from this time to this time. Just swing on by. And I at the airport, and I was like, Oh man, they have really stepped this up in like the 5 months or however long since
Oh,
I had to get
oh
mine.
yeah. My wife was the first one here to get. There was a line because the computer systems went down that day, but every other time it was like in and out. It was like you get there, they're like, okay, what's your name? Okay, but boom, next thing you know, somebody's jabbing you in the arm with something, and you're like, oh, go sit for 15 minutes and get out of here.
Yeah, it's godlike efficiency.
I wish I had gotten mine. I wish I had waited a couple weeks because I got mine while my wife was in Korea visiting her family, and I had to go to this fucking abandoned Sears and wait in line and all this, and then. But when when my wife got back, I scheduled hers and my daughter's, and it's 5 minutes up the street at Walgreens and in and out, boom.
Bob goes to an abandoned Sears. He's like, why did I have to star in this snuff film and never get my shot?
Are you sure this is COVID?
It's vid something, bud. Yeah, I got Pfizer, and kind of like Bob, very minimal side effects. My arm hurt if I moved it, but otherwise, not much trouble, thankfully.
Yeah, not much with my kids either. I mean, my oldest, he had some arm soreness, but the younger two, they milked it for a day. It was like they woke up and it was like, okay, today's school, yeah, but unless your arm hurts, yeah, my arm hurts.
Yeah, my wife and daughter got their second shot today, and my wife was saying she was having some effects, but I think that was she wanted me to cook, so I cooked.
Very, very reasonable.
My wife was wiped out for like 3 days. She was basically like she got the same symptoms as me, but the fatigue and the soreness lasted for like 2 days longer. So, but like gladly do it again. Sure as fuck
100%.
beats COVID.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I kind of want to touch on, what we've done since getting that vaccine. Maybe talk about a thing we've enjoyed, but I feel like we kind of need to start with where our areas are in general on the COVID pandemic ending thing. I'll go first because mine's the most, I think, easiest to talk about and well known because it's fucking Texas, and it's just Jesus Christ, 3 sheets to the wind. Who gives a shit? Fuck you, fuck your masks. It's horrifying. It truly is. The speed at which they threw just everything off. I mean, passing rules that you can't, as a business, ask people to wear masks, or you can't require it. It's fucking horrifying, and it's really influenced things down here, even to me. So I think a great example is there's a Kroger that I go shop at, and they have a big sign that says masks required, and then above it in smaller print they have a sign that says except if you're vaccinated, then you don't have to. And I still wear a mask to that place, and I kind of had to interrogate myself about why, because I am vaccinated and I do believe that the vaccine works, but I think what it came down to is there are so many people around me who just did not give a shit, and I know everyone who is working there and at all these places has to engage with them, and so I know that I have taken the precautions and it's safe, but I still don't want people to have to be afraid when I walk by.
Well, yeah, I wear my mask still too when I go into a store. I know I've been vaccinated, but nobody else knows that.
Yeah, it's one of those things of just like, I know I'm not doing it for the same purpose anymore, so I kind of wanted to just like step back and ask myself why, and then it kind of starts asking the question of, when am I going to be okay walking in here without one and not feel like a piece of shit?
I don't know. I already want to get the hell out of Walmart as soon as possible. The mask just amplifies that.
Here in New Jersey, they just recently dropped the mask mandate, but businesses can still tell you to go fuck yourself if you're not wearing one. I'd say going to the store. My wife and I were still wearing ours, but I'd say right now we're probably seeing maybe 3/4 of the people in the store are still wearing their masks. Nobody without a mask is giving anybody shit up here. Thankfully nobody's pulling that aggro crap of like, it's all fake, motherfucker. because if they are, they're probably getting their ass beat because they're kind of outnumbered. But I mean, as far as that goes, like I said, my youngest is he's going to be fully covered come Monday, and right now it's kind of a one, I don't trust other people, and two, I want to kind of be a good neighbor, so I'm still wearing it. But I think gradually, and I think it's going to be a gradual thing where one day I'm just going to walk out of the house, get in my car, and realize I forgot it or something. And I think it's just going to be a gradual transition back to okay, this isn't being worn, but it is 100% going to be a gradual, not I'm just going to say, I'm invincible, fuck you all.
I mean, when I got vaccinated, I did tell all my friends that I had ascended to godhood, but that,
I had a friend who, when he was vaccinated, when he hit full coverage, I was like, "So are you fully covered now?" And he's like, "Yes, I cannot be killed." But a lot of what you said, Drew. I'm still wearing my mask anytime. The only time I'm not wearing my mask outside the house is if I'm going for a walk outdoors. If I'm going for a walk outdoors, or if I'm going to socialize in a private get together with other vaccinated friends, then I will not do my mask. And to clarify, for my walks, I live in a very quiet neighborhood. There's not a lot of there's almost no foot traffic, so if I go out, I'm gonna be alone. And up here in Washington, I believe we have not dropped the mandates yet, because we're not gonna do that until the state has hit, I think, 70% vaccination, and they actually expect us to hit. I think they expect us to hit between 70 and 80% by the fall. Though I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me. Washington has handled things really, really well. We were actually sure people know this, but we were actually the first place we were the first place to have a confirmed case. And the story of that is actually fucking wild. Basically, the reason we knew about it was because a doctor who was actually specifically told not to test for it decided to go ahead and make the test on the samples she had anyway, and then proceeded to report it. And I'm basically if I go out now, if I go to the grocery store, it's almost everyone is still in masks. The only exception to that is a Fred Meyer that's near me, and apparently they apparently ran fast and loose with the mask guidelines, and so they were always swarmed with assholes. Because if you didn't want to wear your mask, or if you wanted looser mask guidelines, that's where you went. And so, of course, a whole bunch of people who didn't like masks were like, "We're going to support this business." And but yeah, other than that, when I go to Costco, or when I go to Winco, everyone's masked up. The one thing that drives me a little fucking bonkers that I see is we don't have a ton of people just not wearing masks out and about, but we do have a lot of people who just don't wear it over their nose.
Yeah, I ran into a lot of that at the
Yeah,
airport.
it's like
passive aggressive.
It's like passive. It's like you see someone like that, and I'm like, okay, either A, you genuinely don't have one that fits, and that is possible, or B, you genuinely do not give a shit, and you are telegraphing that you don't give a shit.
It's like having your dick hanging out of your underwear hole in the front.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like putting a condom on your balls.
There was a guy, I watched a guy in Costco. He went through the door, gave his Costco ID, and had his mask on. And then I watched him walk 2 aisles down, and then he immediately pulled the mask down over his beard and just walked around the store without it on the rest of the time. And I have never wanted to just straight up grab the mask on someone's face and just pull on the elastics and snap it back against his face. Stop it, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, we kind of got lucky here in at least in this section of New Jersey, in that I didn't see a lot of assholes flaunting it and stuff. I think just because it's at least so many, we kind of hit critical mass of people here, and at least in this section doing that. If there were assholes, they kind of kept their mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here in Georgia, in Suwanee, Georgia, I don't get around very far, but the report for me is places like Walmart, everybody's masked up. I don't see many people at all with no masks. However, as encouraging that is, The however is that there's this brewery across the street from the park near me, and they never missed a beat during COVID. Like it was, all year round.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday nights, they were packed to the gills. Nobody's wearing a mask. Yeah, that was weird. It's not weird because you think, all right, Georgia, but Walmart, like I said, everybody's wearing their masks.
It's wild. The issue I've had with people throughout this has actually been less at businesses and more with my neighbors. Like straight up from last summer through now, I guess, it seemed like every other night my neighbors across the backyard from me were having a raucous party with like 10 to 20 people over every night through COVID. And I remember going, your pod cannot be that fucking big. And a number of my friends had the same issue, just people having wild ass house parties.
Yeah, there was this one redneck family in my neighborhood that did that, and I think they just did it to just give a middle finger to everybody.
Yeah, I think most people who did that just did it not for the sake of a party, just to be dicks.
Yeah, I do remember one exception to the shop rule, where I went into the vape store and I put on my mask, and the guy working there said, "Hey man, you don't have to do that. This is a free country." I said, "Man, come on! I already feel like a big enough douche walking into a vape shop."
Oh God, don't even get me started on the you're impinging upon my freedoms bunch. God, I've never wanted to reach through my screen and just cock punch people as much as when I saw that shit going on.
Yeah, there was a wedding that I was invited to a couple of weeks back. This was before we were vaccinated, so obviously we're not fucking going. They had like a large guest list, and in the wedding thing, they were like, in some ways this was almost worse for me than if they had just been like, fuck your masks. They were like, you can wear a mask or not. We understand that this is a politically polarizing subject, so please, everyone respect everyone else's boundaries and everyone else's choices. And I want to just be like, fuck off.
Yeah. Viruses are famously specific to political leanings.
Yeah. Like my mother died of COVID, and I had some family members, so we're gonna have a get together or and I was like, no.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, when this is over, maybe we'll do a remembrance or something. But I was like, for right now, no.
Yeah, I haven't had any family members die of COVID, but my uncle had to be moved to an assisted living facility at the height of the pandemic because he just couldn't take care of himself anymore, and he died when he was in there for the first 14 days because he had to be basically in solo quarantine when he entered there for like 14 days, and he had really bad osteoporosis and a number of other things, and the isolation just killed him. So
That's terrible.
COVID didn't kill him, but it sort of
kind of inadvertently did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's how my mother got it. She was in a I guess a long-term rehab place because she had just gotten out of the hospital for a bunch of 2020 was basically was the year that apparently the universe decided to smite her with one thing after the other. So
oh my God,
it was just not good. But I will say I even had a couple family members pull the whole, it's like, well, the science isn't, and it's like, shut up.
Yeah, I know. One of the worst parts for me, I know someone is a fucking nurse. Like, is a nurse, like a trained RN, currently working. She went on a rant about how masks don't actually work because the viral particles are too small are small enough that they can get through any amount of mesh or anything. So all of this mask stuff is just performative. I'm going, you're a fucking nurse.
I was saying that shit at the very beginning, but I quickly got myself educated.
Again, it's like, nurse, you've been to the COVID briefings. Christ, YouTube just rots people.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, it was like I don't know whether it was the isolation or them just like being so many people being just closet crazy or something. But holy crap, it was like I will say if there was one good thing about COVID, and I know we're supposed to be talking about the recovery, but if there was one good thing about COVID, it really took the mask off a lot of people that I was like, I used to respect you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people showed themselves.
And not just their noses.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But most of their noses too when you saw them.
I was going to say the one good thing was it got me out of having to go to a lot of weddings.
You know what, Bob? That is a perfect segue.
Yes.
Because for as dark as the COVID days were, and Lord knows they got dark, I want to turn our attention to the fact that we have all been vaccinated. I think we're all in the safe zone. Sounds like Bob's family is in the 2-week countdown. So I wanted to ask y'all what either was something you did or is something you are the first thing you're planning to do. What's your first small step back into the world? I went and ate at a restaurant.
I don't know.
That was my big thing.
My first step into the world was not a small one, and Bob shared this experience, but it was Con Carolinas.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
there.
man, that was y'all's first move.
Where we can finally merge into bald Voltron again.
Oh, Voltron, I love that dude. Keg stands like a motherfucker.
So there were we had a very small number of people that we so in my family, my wife gets hit by respiratory stuff way worse than I do. So early on in the pandemic, we decided that I was going to be the one to do most of the grocery shopping. I was just going to be the one to go out and do stuff because we have sufficient living arrangements that if I had caught it, I could completely quarantine myself off from the rest of the house. And so I never got that. I remained accustomed to being around groups of people. I never kind of developed the freak out mechanism, and I sort of quickly developed a kind of mental armor for just being out in public. We had we had a tiny handful of friends, 2 people, that we would see occasionally for outdoor get-togethers. So we never quite completely lost socialization skills. For me, probably the first big thing that I did that felt scary was my martial arts club had not met in person in groups in over a year, and a couple of them had done some independent masked training sessions outdoors throughout the pandemic, for which I was a little bit irritated with them, but they were taking calculated risks. They weren't being incredibly stupid. They were weighing and deciding that this was worth taking the risk for. None of them lived with compromised people or anything. But anyway, I got together first with just my two of my senior leadership people, and met up with them in a backyard and trained a little bit. And then I got together with about 7 or 8 other people this past week to do a bit of training. And they're all vaccinated, and the weird thing was it wasn't stressful, but it was bizarre. It was very weird being around people that I hadn't seen in a year without masks on. That was just strange, and I spent a portion of the time looking at people and just being like, I hope you don't feel like I'm being odd, because I feel extremely odd right now.
Yeah.
This feels weird, and there's still a part of me when I get together with people occasionally that feels like I'm somehow breaking some sort of moral rule.
Yeah, the scariest thing I did, I got into an elevator with 20 other people, and we started tonguing each other's nostrils.
What?
No, I'm lying.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
I was going to say, what weird ass fetish convention did you go to?
How was Carolina?
I was trying to think of the worst possible thing you could do during COVID.
Con Carolinas, it was weird, but I wasn't too worried. And I guess because my experience with science fiction and fantasy conventions in the past tends to be that the crowds that go to there, or it's not a 100% thing, but they tend to lean more towards the believing in science side.
Yeah, less crazy, less bonkers.
And for the most part, people were masked up in there, and I was drinking most of the time, so That was about half and half. Like, sometimes I'd pull my mask up to drink. Sometimes I'd just take it off. But I'm vaccinated.
I will say every panel I was on, like, like everybody asked ahead of time, is everybody here, like, vaccinated? Possible they were lying, but I didn't have anybody get, like, belligerent and be like, oh man, that's bullshit. Everybody was like, no, yeah, I've been vaccinated. I think the worst I saw was one person was like, I just got my second dose. I'm only like a week into it. I'm not at the 2 weeks yet. I think that was the worst I came across. And I did pick up a good trick because that is the most obvious thing in the world. Because somebody was like, carrying the vaccine cards is great and stuff, except until they get lost. He was like, so I just like have a picture of mine on my phone, and I was like, whoa, using the technology, damn.
I have to fly. I'm flying for A&D-Con, obviously. And now I'm wondering if that would work. TSA. I'm wondering if that would work. Would they take a picture?
I have no idea. I figure a picture is good enough for like just generic, like if you're walking into a store and they're trying to be like, hey, give us proof or something.
Joe, don't say obviously to Rick.
So I flew recently, and there was no requirement as of yet. But if there's one thing we've learned, it's that this whole situation is very fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't get mad at anybody who wanted to be like just a stickler and be like, no, I demand to see your card or so.
Yeah, I wouldn't get mad at that either.
As long as they let me know in advance that I needed to have it or a copy of it.
Yeah, my wife keeps mine, and I'm terrified of having it on me because I'm afraid I'll lose it.
I've got a picture of mine saved to my phone and in the cloud and everything, but I don't walk around with it.
I should probably find mine and take a picture of it.
Yeah, I think a picture is at least a smart thing to have.
Okay, so we've talked about kind of our first steps. Now, my answer is probably going to be one that Rick and Bob have already done. But what are you kind of looking forward to as what you think of as a big step, like something that mid-pandemic you couldn't even have imagined doing? And I'll start because mine is A&D-Con 2021.
Yeah,
we're going to Nashville,
that's the one.
August 6th through 8th. We're gonna be able to be around each other and our listeners who are coming out to hang out and go to panels and meet up at the bar and everything. And that to me just feels like scaling Everest right now. I'm excited for it, and I'm definitely like down, but I'm like, that is gonna be the biggest step I have taken.
Mine is a little smaller. My wife and I were talking earlier this week, and she was like, you know what we haven't. She was like, why don't we go to the Cheesecake Factory? We can do that now. I was like, you're right. We should like do that sometime in the next week or so.
I mean, A&D-Con is definitely going to be a big one, but I have a summer that's almost more packed than some part. Like, it's weird. This past year has definitely programmed my brain has decided that avoiding people and abiding by pandemic, rules is a moral issue. So even though I know it's safe, there's a part of me that's like, you're breaking the rules. And I'm excited. So I'm excited for A&D-Con, but the other thing is that basically I have A&D-Con, and then I come back, and then I'm working the Ren Fair for a weekend, and then after that I'm going to be competing in a tournament, the first one that I will have been in 2 years, and that one seemed impossible. It seemed at the height of the pandemic, it seemed like tournaments would never happen again, because it's just impossible to be fighting someone without sweating all over them and breathing in each other's faces, even with fencing masks on and stuff. It seemed like something that could literally never happen again. So the fact that I'm signed up for one and it's happening, there is still a part of my subconscious that just doesn't believe that it's going to happen. Like, I believe that the world is going to, like, the hinges are going to come off the world and that it's going to end up being canceled. But so far, all like, case rates are plummeting here, and things are getting better here, and everyone's being, sensible, except for Eastern Washington, because fucking Eastern Washington. No, Eastern Washington is the Texas of Washington. But yeah, it does not. I'm doing it, and I'm excited to do it, but it does not feel real that I'm going to do it.
Like Rick said, we did Con Carolinas, and I'm taking a trip with the family to Florida and next month in July. but still, the big one is A&D Con. That's when I'm gonna not just do it, but celebrate it. That's gonna be my official COVID coming out.
I feel like now we have to throw a full-on like debutante ball for Bevan.
Well, not mine
Like
in particular. I just that's when I didn't meant just specifically for me. I meant that's when I will be celebrating the opening of the nation.
Fair enough. We're reintroducing all of us back into society.
Right.
Now, mind you, it's a gradual reopening. We're unfortunately canceling the spit in each other's mouths social that we had planned for A&D Con.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa. Are we still tonguing nostrils?
No, that's still fine.
All right.
Is the heavy breathing contest still happening?
I wouldn't show up if it wasn't. And I mean, the kids are. My kids are finishing out their school year this week, and they've started going back part time. Yeah, I know kids are funny.
No. I'm sorry. I thought you were. I thought you were gonna say like tongue and nostrils. That's what the kids are doing.
Well, so that when they're in school, I have no idea. But I mean, that's also the thing. It's like they've been going there with like their masks and doing this, and like we have to do temperature checks every morning. But like starting in the summer, we're going to start busing them and stuff again. So that's also kind of like a new thing. It's just gradually kind of like it feels like being in hibernation for like a year and a half.
That's a good way of putting it. I feel like I'm emerging.
My son got the raw end of the deal. He was really looking forward to being like the cool kid at the end of elementary school where he got to sit at the back of the bus, and yeah, he got robbed of that. He's going to middle school next year.
Oh, that does suck.
Back to the bottom of the food chain.
I will say one weird thing is that at the height of all this, when things were at their worst, I hit that point that a lot of people have talked about, where it's like you're never not wearing sweatpants. And in my case, I was waking up at 2 a.m. every single night in like a cold fear sweat. I was not doing good, but specifically outside didn't feel real. Like it felt like there was my house, and it felt like there was the dangerous place outside my house that was just a hazard. And the biggest thing I'm noticing now is this sort of, I guess, appropriately enough coincides with the transitioning into summer. But outside actually feels real again. It feels like I could go out and things could become better, and I could get to have things again. Which is it's just very weird to put it in those terms. But like, yeah, outside didn't feel real, and now outside kind of feels real.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree because I mean, when I think back on it, going outside, it almost felt like being in a better lit like Resident Evil or like a Silent Hill game.
Yeah, exactly.
And every time somebody would walk near you, it's like I get flashes of like, okay, that person's a triangle head. They're gonna cough all over me. Although triangle head wore a mask, so yeah, it's been a very and getting back to my kids. One thing that sucks is, I mean, the truth of the matter is, the whole half days or half schedules or like or remote learning thing, it all kind of sucked. At least for my kids, this has felt like a lost year as far as just teaching quality goes. And I'm not going to blame the teachers because everybody's kind of figuring it out as they go. But I cannot look at this last year and say it was like it was a great learning experience.
Oh, it felt like a lost year in general. I mean, there were so many things that we had planned for 2020 that just never materialized. My wife, we bought our second car right around when things we bought our second car basically December of 2019, and we had specifically got a 7-seater SUV so that we would have the ability to cart us and our kids plus any of our kids' friends or other friends of ours around with one vehicle. And then the pandemic hit. And there was this, and none of us were going anywhere, except occasionally to go for drives for enrichment or whatever. Yeah, it definitely feels like the year where everything happened at the same time nothing happened.
Yeah, it's like the void year. Like
Yeah.
just if I almost have said last year a few times, and I mean 2019,
Oh yeah.
because 2020, like it's sort of like a blip.
Mm-hmm. The
I
dark
forgot
year.
I had a book come out.
It's weird because I think I try not to beat myself up about because there was a portion of the year where I just couldn't write at all.
Oh, understandable,
Oh,
I
man.
lost
Yeah.
the ability to produce fucking anything. I'm finally back at the point now where I'm producing something on a semi-regular basis, but it's
Not shingles.
yeah, no. Sorry.
But I was gonna say, Joe, unlike you, I'm gonna beat myself up over it because there was a big chunk of 2020 I could not write, and unfortunately, I am like the breadwinner of of the house, and it is definitely taking its toll. And I just managed to pull out. I managed to pull out of that tailspin near the end of the year, and now I have stuff coming out all summer. But but yeah, it was just finding myself unable to come up with ideas for anything was just the weirdest thing and somewhat terrifying too.
Oh, I'd like to use that as an excuse, but I'd be lying. I've just been slow.
No, it's okay. You can lie about it. But yeah,
Yeah, it's COVID. That's why CF9 isn't out yet. So stop fucking harassing me.
I mean, I didn't lose the entire ability to go, but I lost a lot of steps. Like, there were days when I did not meet the quota I would have liked of myself. There were days when I just fully had to be like, no, I got to work on something that doesn't demand that energy out of me. Yeah, I mean, it was taxing. It was tolling. It was a time of living in constant fear and uncertainty, and many of the mechanisms we might have had to relieve stress or what have you weren't there. Like, you can't go out with your friends. You can't go travel somewhere. You can't go bowling. You can't go to the movies. Like, whatever your passion was, you probably couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And all of that just sort of compounds, and it makes it hard to have that sort of creative freedom to come up with fun scenarios in your head for pretend.
Yeah, losing the ability to play pretend was probably one of the saddest experiences I've had. It was like that between tabletop gaming and writing, my imagination is the thing that keeps me going. And there was a period where I was like, "Have I lost this?"
yeah. I mean, really, the only saving grace I had was, getting back to Bob's thing of just being slow. Is I had a couple of outlines that were already written where the books weren't done. So the fact that I had like roadmaps already, that right there, like was pretty much the only saving grace I had for probably a good chunk of 2020. But all right, rather than be depressing about it.
Yeah, this has been
So
kind
we've
of
all
a downer.
tripled our output in 2021, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we're talking about a pandemic. It's even if we're kind of coming out ish at the end of the tunnel, it's hard to be entirely cheery. People have been lost, lives forever changed. We are happy to have all survived, but I also imagine we are all kind of weary because it was not a magical journey. It was a taxing ordeal.
Yeah, a number of people have talked about that. Like, our generation in particular is the COVID generation in general is gonna carry some weird idiosyncrasies into its old age.
You know what? I don't know if we're how to transition this
Sure.
to the next phase, but I guess I'm going to call it the realizing how you have been broken phase. And I don't mean that in like more sad ways. I mean in just the bizarre shit that you've started to notice. And here's mine. I entirely forget that I can go out to eat for lunch. There is a sushi place that I love that I can drive to, and before all of this happened, I used to like once a month drive out, go enjoy a nice lunch there, and truly, I will go all day, and I'll reach the end of the day, and I'll think, oh yeah, I did have the ability to leave the house. I forgot about that. Again.
Well, I mean, one thing. This is going to sound horrible because it didn't help, but it just. So before COVID, my wife and I would like, we would do the grocery shopping together. And when COVID hit, she was taking care of a high, like, working as a caregiver to a high risk patient. So like she was basically like, okay, I go there, I come back, you got to go and do all this shopping, and I was happy to do that. Unfortunately, not COVID related, but the woman she was caring for passed away. And I mean, but after that, it was kind of like almost like a numb thing. Well, it's like, well, I guess I can come with you to the store again. So I mean, that was like, it was like a bit of normalcy returning, but at a really high cost. And I really don't know what the point of what I'm trying to say was, because now that it's out, I'm like, oh, that's really not good. But
well, I mean,
I don't know.
You found a silver lining in a very dark cloud.
Oh God.
That's how we'll put that.
I will put up something that has definitely fundamentally. There's a couple of things that have basically fundamentally changed about me. I'm just like learning. Well, a couple things. One is that my relationships with a couple of people have either been destroyed or forever altered because of the level of trustworthiness they revealed themselves to have. At the same time, I deepened a couple of friendships really intensely because those people were A, rocks for me, and B, they showed themselves to be exceptionally trustworthy, in a truly life and death environment. But like how I relate to people has changed, and probably the best example of that I could give is before the pandemic, I would suffer from extremely bad FOMO. I had a terrible fear of missing out would just eat me alive when it came to social stuff. And it was actually, in retrospect, causing me a whole bunch of problems, both like at home and with friends, and just, I wasn't like an asshole about it or anything, but it would seriously stress me out psychologically, and that is just gone. I have absolutely no fear of missing out whatsoever. I do not care if people are doing things and I am not around. I do not care if I get left out of plans. Again, obviously, unless there was something I was supposed to be involved in. That's a little different. But all of a sudden,
your family gives you a call. Hey, we're having a great time on vacation. Wish you could have come.
but seriously, like a whole bunch of it's amazing because I thought that it would creep back in when things started opening up, and it's just gone. Like the pandemic has completely erased that part of my personality.
I got nothing. I feel bad for those lives that are affected, but mine wasn't. I didn't lose anybody. A couple of people we knew got COVID, suffered, but got through it. And no, so nothing for me. And I didn't really have a whole lot of change in my lifestyle because I barely ever leave my garage. Yeah, nothing. Sorry.
That was a weird thing though too, because and I reflected on it a couple of times because my kids were suddenly at home from school all the time, and my wife was suddenly working from home instead of being in the office. But other than that, my actual personal life didn't change really at all, except I wasn't going anywhere anymore. So I had a lot of dissonance around that throughout the year. That kind of weird feeling of everyone's lives are in extreme upheaval, and I'm just here in my house like I've always been.
It was it was a pretty big upheaval. Like I said, obviously I mentioned mom, but just the kids going from being in school to like at home, and there was a lot of transitions there. I mean, I have two special needs kids, so and we've been trying to like kind of like step back and be like, okay, you got to like do your own schedule with regards to homeschool and stuff, but they kind of need you to like be school Nazi with regards to that. Be like, yeah, okay, you're supposed to be on right now. Why are you playing video games? So yeah, there was a lot of upheavals here, but I mean, if I had to look at myself and say what changed is there's that joke that says as you get older you get more conservative, and and a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, I think for myself, it really just seeing just the selfishness and the assholishness, both from the individual level and the corporate level going on. Wow, that really just jaded me. I'm like, to just like a whole lot of like things that like before I just kind of said, okay, this is the way it is. I got to be perfectly honest. coming out of COVID, there's some institutions that I'm seeing kind of like crumbling, that they're trying to get back to the way they were, and I'm kind of hoping they could just crumble. I would love to see like real change come out of this.
I had a bunch of friends who were involved and who were heavily it's a bit tangential, but another big thing that happened to me during the pandemic was I was involved. I won't say exactly how I was involved, but I was involved in the Floyd protests a whole bunch. And, I have never been like the biggest fan of institutions around law enforcement and stuff. I've never been the biggest fan of a lot of that stuff, but I really got hardened in a lot of the there's something about seeing a friend take a gas canister to the ankle and another friend take a flashbang to the face. That'll really wake you up to some things.
Jesus, yeah.
Man, we're getting depressing again.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
Come
yeah.
Somebody come up with a lighter topic here.
I am purposely keeping myself on mute just so I don't say some fucking shit that I'm gonna regret later.
No, go.
Oh,
Go
no,
for
no,
it,
I've got nothing. I'm just saying.
bring us up.
This is not the time to crack a joke. I don't have a joke.
Oh,
what's the first amusement park you're gonna go to now that we're all vaccinated?
Well,
You can do a water park, roller coaster.
Oh man, I haven't been to one of those in years.
A&D
Well,
Con.
now is the damn time.
My youngest didn't want to go to A&D Con, so I think my wife has taken him to Hershey Park while we're in Nashville.
Very fun. I think I might try to go to a water park this summer. I haven't gone in so many years, and last year when it was really hot, all I could think was, man, I kind of wish I could go now. And
True.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. You have a pool now. Your backyard is a water park. Okay.
Rick, I don't know how pool building works up in New Jersey, but I have hired people and like they have agreed to build me a pool. In winter of this year, I might have a pool.
Okay, valid excuse. But next year, I don't want to hear you going to any water parks.
Not a park exactly, but a thing that we're talking about possibly doing, depending on what vaccinations look like for kids in the fall, is it might be possible for my whole family, me, my wife, and the kids, to go see her family around the holidays this year. Like, that might actually be possible. And, I mean, we hadn't done it before because of cost, but the money's there because we didn't fucking spend anything on travel last year. And if kids are able to be vaccinated by, November, December, which I can't think of why they wouldn't be, they're saying that it's probably going to be possible in the fall. That might actually be doable, and that would be pretty awesome.
So, Rick mentioned A&D Con, and I think we're probably at a point where it's good to shift in and talk about that in relation to COVID, pandemic, safety, etc. So Bob and Rick have gone to a con, Joe and I have not.
Nope.
And as we said earlier, we're all very excited for it, we're looking forward to it, but we also are trying to approach it with the understanding that everyone is shell-shocked and coming out of this, and even, we are going to follow whatever the safety guidelines of the local, federal, CDC institutions are at the time. Minimum.
Yeah.
The minimum is that we're going to do that.
Well,
and I think depending on where everything is, I definitely don't want to make projections 2 months out, because again, if we've learned nothing, it's that this changes. But I think it'll be sort of an interesting one, because I am kind of open to like shaking hands and stuff, but I don't think I'm gonna do hugs anymore, at least at this first one. And it's a lot of like small stuff like that, finding kind of your little half steps. And so what about you guys? Is there any stuff you're kind of working your way around to, or figuring out where you're comfortable with?
My nostrils are clean, but if you would like to further clean them,
I was going to say we got special guest guest of honor Steve Radzinski coming. I'm going to be like, dude, you make movies. I want to lick your palms.
Get some of that magic. Is the magic in your hands?
If Steve cancels after this episode,
Yeah, I know, we know why.
The blame.
Now, I mean, at A&D Con, I think I did shake a few hands, but there was a lot more fist and elbow bumps, and I kind of like fist bumps. I am A-okay with those. So
I'm gonna just call this out real quick, Rick. Do you mean Con Carolinas, right?
So-
Not A&D Con from 2019.
no, you're right. Con Carolina's my bad. I mean, don't get
No
me wrong.
worries.
It still freaks me out if I turn my head and I see a fist flying my way. But as long as it's a fist in slow motion, it's okay.
Yeah, if someone slow motion decks you, they kind of earned it.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna be leaning into fist bumps or at most a handshake in general, because I mean, beyond I think John talked about this in a post a while back. Is like, not if you hug fewer people, if you're not constantly a hug machine at cons in general, like say nothing of COVID, you catch a lot less con crud if you're not grabbing people.
Yeah.
So I'm down with fist bump. I'm down with fist bumps as a general thing becoming like more of a standard.
If you come at me with a slow-mo fist, I'll pretend I'm Neo and then I'll deck you.
Are you kidding? I'm expecting like all of our tables were doing fist bumps. Then we look over and Bob's got a line and they're all like elbow deep in his nose.
I thought you were gonna say Bob's fighting off a bunch of fans like it's Agent Smiths around Neo.
Bob has a pile of Q-tips.
Somebody take video.
We just want to get Q-tips on Bob's table. Have people come up, clean me.
And mind you, we're not shaking your hand after you step away from Bob's table.
Oh yeah, but that's true every year.
Behold my wonder.
Oh God.
Jesus.
I guess I'll ask this one. Does anyone know? And I realize, again, the A&D Con will be in August, 6th through 8th, and we are recording this in June. But do we know where Tennessee is on mask law currently, as it will be in Nashville? I
thought you were going to say on a map,
masks.
and I was going to lie and say yes, and then look it up.
Nope, they do not have a I just looked it up because I have the power of Google, and they do not have a statewide mask mandate. And apparently in April, they decided to kind of go the Texas route, and they issued an order barring local mask mandates.
Does that mean we can't? I guess that means we can't require masks.
Freedom.
We cannot require them, I would guess by that. I would say, but truth be told, given where the CDC guidance is, I'm not sure we would have needed to.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely easy to say that if you are more comfortable in a mask, you should feel 100% free to wear one. To A&D Con, we are not in any way going to give you shit for wanting to take the most steps you can to protect your health. Again, we're coming out of a fucking pandemic.
Yeah, and if anybody gives you shit at A&D Con for wearing a mask, you come and see one of us.
Yeah, that shit's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
That gets rolled right in with harassment.
Yep.
Unless you're wearing a really stupid mask and people are just making fun of what's on it. That's a whole
That's
different
true. If you have bad fashion sense, that's bullying, and that's a different kind. So, unless you have really bad fashion sense, and then you're considered couture, and we have to learn from you. I just pissed off like 3 of our listeners.
Man,
Oh,
you know
man.
what we should maybe have? We should maybe have like, a best or worst mask contest. Bring your weirdest ass, COVID masks, and
That's not a bad idea. Just bring because I've got a weird collection of masks now. I assume we all have because you're trying various ones to find the best that fit your face and are comfortable because God knows how long we're all going to have to wear them, when we were buying them.
Yeah, and I don't like things that are like normal, like a medical mask. I'm like my favorite. I think when my kids stole it was like I had like an Immortan Joe mask.
That's great. So subtly connected to the, COVID situation of A&D Con 2021, we had to do a fully digital con for A&D Con 2020. This is where originally Nashville was going to be. And sort of related to that, we've had a lot of folks asking if there will be any component of that for this year as we, return to the live version, but still understanding that many folks are unable to travel out at this point for various logistical reasons. And the long and short of that one was we are going to try and record and turn into video content as much as we can, but live streaming requires a pretty strong, stable internet connection that we are not going to know if we have until we arrive at
venue.
At the hotel, at the Inn at Opryland.
It's hotel Wi-Fi. I can probably pretty much guarantee the answer is no.
Yeah, and so it's fairly impossible for us to plan on being able to stream. So the long and short of that is we're going to make as much of the content available as possible that we can. On the video side, we'll create a little Digicon 2021 playlist like we did for the last year. But live streaming is just something we don't have the reliability to do at this juncture for this year.
Well, maybe later in the year we can we should consider like a mini like Digicon, kind of like half year event. Because I had a lot of fun with Digicon.
I had a great time with Digicon, and I mean, if I have to stream from Vegas, then that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Oh, how you suffer for your art.
Yeah, I mean, it's a level of authenticity to the con experience that I'm just willing to add because I love this job.
I do think more things like Digicon, like maybe a smaller scale one or whatever, would be kind of cool to do every so often, because we did discover some pretty neat possibilities with that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we had a lot of interaction, and that was the most fun part for me. We just got people involved, which is like which is great.
Yeah, we get to do a smaller scale version of that with our monthly hangouts on the Patreon Discord. Those are a lot of fun, but getting to do it on the big scale of the YouTube channel was definitely a cool experience.
But Drew, what if I'm not a member of the Patreon? How would I find it?
Oh, I guess you'd have to go to patreon.com/authorsanddragons and join the Patreon, where it would automatically connect you to the Discord, assuming you had Discord. Otherwise, you'd have to make a Discord account. You all listen to the internet. You know how this basic stuff works.
Who knew?
Listen to the internet. God, that was the most old man thing I could have said.
Listen to the tubes.
I mean, we're talking on a podcast, so I'm not wrong, but
yes, listen to our advice on the internet, because we're not giving you medical advice.
I was waiting for Bob to try.
Yeah, I know.
Medical
waiting for our new spinoff. Ask Dr. Bob.
No, I was trying to find a. Yeah, I was gonna go with the. What if I'm trying to find Robert Bevan's books, and yeah, but no, it wasn't as funny as it. Yeah, Steve, cut all this shit. Yeah. Fuck you all for putting me on the spot. I was trying to find a place.
Why aren't you bringing the funny, Bob? Why?
Yeah, this has been a challenge. This has not been a bring the funny episode.
Yeah. This is this has been one of our more serious topics.
I've kept my mouth fucking shut. You're welcome.
I so wish like Discord could record your thoughts as well as your voice, because I would just I would both love and probably be horrified to hear all this shit going through it.
No, you've heard the horrifying shit. This what I've kept shut is the beyond that.
Oh god. cannot have been easy.
We've now reached the goddamn part of the episode.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my god. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, it was implied.
Yeah, because
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
we
Is it okay to say "God damn it" when I didn't even hear it? Damn it by implication.
we probably only have the barest clue where that was going.
Bob has reached the level where he can summon a "God damn it" from me without needing to speak.
We truly have been doing this podcast for many years. Oh god. Is there anything else on the vaccine and the changing and the the lighting of the dawn front? And I want to be specific. I know we have listeners from outside the U.S. and I realize that this is not the situation even everywhere because it is rolling out in different places at different rates with different efficiencies. So it's tempting to say things like the end of the pandemic, but it's truly just the easing of this particular area in which we live. And God, it's terrifying to just I don't know. Y'all said it well. That year is just like a sink, and so much of it was lost. But I do feel in the same way that you walk through mud and slowly your feet start to pop free. Like I do feel myself starting to shake out of some of the funks that I hadn't even noticed I was in. Noticing that I had forgotten that I could go to lunch is a step toward going back to a place that I really enjoyed. I used to go there to celebrate when I released a new book, and by God, Fred 7's coming out this month on June 23rd, and I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go have myself a sushi lunch and celebrate my book and remember that things are moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, right the second they finished that, because Bill of the Dead 3 Carnage à Trois is coming out on the 24th.
Very nicely timed. Well, let me ask you, do you know when the audio version of that one is coming out? I'm sure people are going to ask that.
The audio version of that is done, and it's proofed, and it's sitting on ACX, and I'm just waiting for the final audio cover to push the button on that. So I can't give an exact date. I will just say it is finished right now, and I'm just waiting for essentially the window dressing.
Well, it sounds like they'll have plenty of time to finish that one out before August 31st, when Fred number 7 Out of House and Home releases on audiobook.
Anybody else got any cheap plugs while we're here?
Yeah, I mean,
I have books.
We're weaving them in.
Critical Failures is cool. Go read it.
Skyfire and Dragon Road are there as always. Making some progress on the third one though. I'm getting within spitting distance of halfway.
And of course, if you are interested in all this talk about Authors and Dragons Con, you can go to authorsanddragons.com. There is a big banner that says A&D Con. From there, you can click the link to buy tickets. You can click the link to book rooms, although I think the window for the discount room rate is rapidly shrinking.
July 16th, it closes.
Give you an exact... Thank you very much. So, as you were listening to this, if you were listening to this around release time, there is still an opportunity for those. Tickets will be on sale all the way up until the end, but we don't control the hotel, so there is a cutoff on the room rate thing.
And if you are a last-minute person, I do hear that that tickets will be available at the door.
Nice.
If you're just driving through Nashville and be like, yeah, we could stop and see all these historic sites, or fuck that, we could go visit the A&D guys.
You could.
We know the choice you'll make, and your family won't forgive you.
If you want to sleep in my room, it's gonna cost you some nostril licks.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week on Side Quest. We will be back next week with a regular episode of Authors and Dragons, and then in another 2 weeks with a side quest, or maybe a Salty Bastards. Who knows? Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, friends.
Yeah.